Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So let's all raise our hands up in the air, calling out for the mercy. We'll chant one last time loudly with our heart, calling out, begging for the mercy of Shri Shri Radha Golokananda and Shri Shri Gaur Nitai. Let's loudly chant, Hare Hare Krishna Maha Mantra ki jai, Harinam Prabhu ki jai, Hare Krishna. So now we'll move on to our class and initiations. We request all devotees to kindly come forward for the class. Please, everyone, we have space here. If everyone can kindly move forward for the class. And also we'll need some space around the center. We'll just need some space that we can set up for the yajna. So please leave some space around here and everyone else can kindly move forward.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Can everyone hear me? Okay, that's good. Okay, so I think we should have everyone sitting at the arena for the sacrifice. All right, so I will chant Jai Radha Madhava to let everyone get set up. Want to thank everybody for coming in spite of the inclement weather today. I mean, fortunately, it got a lot warmer today, so the roads were pretty clear. Yesterday, everything was iced up, and many of the devotees were enjoying sledding and everything like that. So the material world is, or snow is like the material world, it's temporary. You can enjoy for a while, but then it melts. Yesterday I was in Raleigh, and when the snow was out there, as soon as the daylight came, everybody was out there, all the children, and everybody was so happy to see the snow. And then now the snow's gone. That's Krishna's time factor. So in the same way, we're so happy when we're young, and then the body melts, and we get old, and then we lament. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunya Vihare Jayo Radha Madhava Kunya Vihare Gopijana Balaba Giri Baladhare Gopijana Balaba Giri Baladhare Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Banachare Yamuna Tera Banachare Jai Hurat Umadhava Gunya Vihati Jai Radha Madhava Gunya Vihati Gopijana Balabha Girivardhati Gopijana Balabha Girivardhati Yidivara Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Banachate Yamuna Tera Banachate Jayo Radho Madhuva Gunya Vikhakare Jaya Radha Madhava Gunja Vikhakare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo, Hare Bo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Radha, Golokananda, Radha, Golokananda, Raghute. Jaya Radha, Golokananda, Radha, Golokananda, Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya, also Teta Sitashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanara Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnav, Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturadam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasa Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Srinivadi Paschachate Shatarane. So, are we ready to start, or so? Let's see. How is everyone supposed to face? Face me when I'm giving the lecture. Face the fire sacrifice when that's going on. So, are you ready to do the initial purification rituals, or no? Okay. So what they're going to do is first there's the initial purification, which consists mainly of turning your mobile phones off. The auspicious sound of the mobile phones. So, which consists of chanting this mantra, Om Pavitra Pavitrava. So, yes. Sarvavastam Gatopi Vayaksma Red Pundarikaksham Savaya Avyantura Shuchi Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. And this mantra is actually a very important mantra because what it says is, regardless of your background, if your background is pure or impure. What that means, not what type of family you were born in, whether you're a Brahmin or whatever. It means basically what your some scars were in the past. In other words, last life, what you did in this life, did you ever do anything bad this whole life? Is anybody here who's never done anything bad their whole life? Raise your hand. Oh, sorry. So, oh, see, no, the little children have never done anything bad. So, if you've never done anything bad, then you're pavitra, you're pure. But for everybody else who's done something bad, we're apavitra. That means we're not pure. So, Om Pavitra Pavitra Va. So, whether one is pure or not pure, whether one has been bad or has been good. That's a good way to say it. Sarva Vashtam Gatoviva. Yaksmaret Pundarikaksham. So, if one remembers Krishna by chanting his holy names, because that's the proper method of smaranam. Like we have these different processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. Smaranam is basically like a meditation thing, to remember Krishna. So if you're able to chant Shravanam and Kirtanam, right, Shravanam means to hear, Shravanam to hear and to chant, Kirtanam, then you're actually able to Smaranam, be able to remember. And if you're able to remember, then it doesn't matter. Oma Pavitra Pavitrava Sarva Vashnam Gatoviva. Yaksmaret Pundarik Aksham. But what are you able to remember? Pundarik Aksham. That means Krishna who has what type of eyes? Lotus eyes. Why are Krishna's eyes called lotuses? Nobody knows. They don't look like lotuses. Why? There's several reasons. One reason is they're beautiful. Lotuses are beautiful. Most beautiful flower. Hate to tell you that. And another reason is that there's some reddish in the lotuses, the red lotuses. And that Krishna's eyes are like reddish in the corners. Not red the whole. Sometimes Krishna's eyes are reddish all the way. When is that? When he's angry. Then they're really reddish. But normally, and also, sometimes ladies have reddish eyes when they're what? What? Crying, right? Boo-hoo. So, anyway, so Krishna's eyes are lotus eyes, Pundarikaksam Vaya Avyantara Shutri, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. So one can always remain pure as long as one is remembering Vishnu, or Krishna. And what does that mean, always to remember Krishna? Kirtaniya Sada Hari. To always be chanting Krishna's names. And when my experiences when I was with Prabhupada, that he was always chanting. Some devotees said that they could even hear the chanting coming from Prabhupada's body. Some of the devotees have told me that. I wasn't so astute to hear that. But when I went on programs with Prabhupada, you could hear him softly chanting. Even when he was in a TV interview and someone was talking to him and he would be chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Because if you're always absorbing Krishna's name, Krishna is Surya Sama Maya Haya Andakar. Krishna is the sun, Maya is the absence of sun. It's interesting. Illusion is not let's say, a positive mobile phone. Illusion is not a positive quality. It's actually the absence of something, the absence of Krishna. It's interesting. The definition of darkness is the absence of light. You can't say, bring me some darkness. Let the darkness come. Anyway, but darkness means you don't have, as soon as you have light, you don't have darkness, right? So as soon as you have Krishna's name, then illusion goes away. And what is the illusion we're in? We're in the illusion we're in this body. We're in the illusion we're male, female, Americans, Indians, that's all the nice illusion stuff. We're a certain age. These are all aspects of illusion, that we're part of this world, They were not part and parcel of Krishna. So it goes away. So anyway, so this is the initial purification. That's a brief introduction to the lecture. So make sure that Ujjwala Rasananda has everything ready. So you're going to do that mantra now, or did you already do it while I was explaining it? They've done it? They did the Achman already? Okay, so why don't you do that and demonstrate the Achman for everybody. It's nice that the sun came out and it got warm so we can have this initiation. We were planning on putting it off for 1 week. But, and actually I did a half initiation, or full initiation at someone's house yesterday. Because we were thinking we were going to have to put it off. So this is like number 2 for one of the devotees here. So they got 2 first initiations. Pretty good. Om Narayanaya Namaha. Om Madhvaya Namaha. Om Apavatra Pavitrova Sarvavastam Kato Viva Yaksmeret Punurikaksham Savaya Abhyantaraha Shuchihi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay? Ready for the lecture? A lecture. That sounds frightening. So, ready for the explanation and the sharing of Krishna consciousness. That's actually not so frightening. Nobody likes to get lectured to. So, Om Ganat Timirandasha Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur and Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So this particular prayer is quite interesting, while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance, because it relates to a story that involves Socrates. Anyway, a little information, a little culture here for everybody. Not that Prabhupada took it from that story, but I'm just going to relate it to that story. So here's a story about Socrates. Socrates was an ancient Greek philosopher, for those of you who don't know. And his disciple was Plato. And Socrates was a vegetarian, believed in the soul and everything like that, and left his body believing in the soul. But anyway, Om Pavitra Pavitrava. So here's the interesting story about the spiritual master opening the eyes of the disciple with a torchlight of knowledge was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. There's one particular Socratic dialogue that deals with a cave. Some of you may have heard about this. So in a cave, usually there's not much light, unless they bring in electric lights. But at that particular time, they didn't have any electric lights. So everybody was living in the cave. They were born in the cave. You know, if you're born in a cave, you don't know anything else, right? Everything's dark if you're born in the cave, right? So once upon a time, all these people in the cave, they were living in the cave in the dark. A few little shadows, they had some candles and stuff like that. One of them happened to wander out and see the sun. And he thought, wow, there's a whole world out here. And so he was the original guru. So he went back in the cave and said, Prabhus, Haribol. He didn't really say Haribol. He said, Haribol Prabhus, we have some light out there. Things are really bright and shiny, and there's grass and trees and all that other nice, cool stuff. And they said, get away from here. It sounds like you're brainwashing some cult. Of course, inside the cave, they also were taking all sorts of intoxication. Some of them drank. Sounds like a university. Anyway, some of them were. I just came from preaching at the university, so this is very appropriate. Some of them were smoking marijuana. Others were drinking liquor, and they were also intoxicated. They didn't think that there was anything out there. They just thought, this is the life. Being intoxicated, being in an illusion, or as they say, being in the matrix. And so I'll end the story in a very sad way. So they killed the guy. No, the end of the story is actually, the real end is he brought some of them out of there, and he liberated everybody. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo. Yasmin pratishlagam avada vachapin amana nantashay yashok nikataniyat shinvanti gayanti grenatiyat sadavaha. This is an interesting verse in the Bhagavatam, and it's translated that this Krishna consciousness is meant to create a revolution in the misdirected lives of an impious civilization. And even if the words as we present Krishna consciousness are imperfectly formed, the grammar and diction is not exactly right. As Prabhupada talked about when he presented his first Bhagavatams, there's so many grammatical mistakes. It still has the effect of creating a revolution in society. Prabhupada gave the example that if there's a burning house and you're yelling at people to get out of the house, you don't worry about proper grammar and diction. You just say, get out. And someone will say, IDK. I don't know. This is a modern world, IDK. So, and some people will say, no, it's kind of warm in here. It's cold outside. And then they'll just get burned to death. So, in other words, that's the situation that we're in right now, even though we are simply serving as Divine Grace to the Prabhupada, and we're not claiming any qualification for ourselves, but because the house is on fire, and Prabhupada has asked for us to tell everybody the house is on fire, we're doing this. In other words, we're acting as Guru to please His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. And certainly we do not compare ourselves to Srila Prabhupada or to his spiritual master, any of these great acharyas like Srila Rupa Goswami. But our business is to yell fire. That everybody gets out, even though we may have a New York accent when we yell fire. And may not know how to yell fire in Sanskrit or in Hindi or in Bengali. So, anyway, the spiritual master opens our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while we were blinded in the cave of ignorance. And so in order to do that, the spiritual master gives us mantras. And the first mantra the spiritual master gives us in disciplic succession is called what? The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, right? And the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is enough to get you back to home, back to Godhead. You don't need any other mantra. In fact, any mantra that you chant, even if you do chant additional mantras, has to be given in disciplic succession. You can't just look through the books, like a book of spells or something like that. Like if you go to the Atharva Veda, you will actually find mantras that will give you weapons like the Brahmastra weapon. Everybody knows what the Brahmastra weapon is? That is a weapon that's more powerful than the atomic bomb but can be focused on just one little spot, one little person. And Ashvatam in the Mahabharata used this Brahmastra weapon. So, but you can chant it, it's not going to do you any good. You can chant it all you want. You can find some enemy and send the Brahmastra to them. And the only thing that'll happen is you just waste your breath because you're not initiated in that mantra. However, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in one sense, has initiated the whole universe in the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Everybody. Lord Chaitanya didn't say to people when he was touring South India, going all around, he didn't say to people, all right, first you have to take initiation, then you can chant. You chant now. Yare Dekatarigai Krishna Padesh Maragai Guru Hoi Tare Desh. And in one sense, that was a type of initiation. In one sense, it was. And traditionally, we spoke about this yesterday at our first preliminary initiation yesterday, that in one sense, everybody is initiating the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And in our tradition, usually you didn't have a first initiation or a Harinam initiation. In our tradition, the initiation was the Gayatri initiation, in which you got the Gayatri mantras, which were meant to bring you closer to Krishna, but were not essential to take you back to home, back to Godhead. I mean, for example, you have Dhruva Maharaj. He wasn't chanting the Gayatri mantras, right? What was he chanting? Everybody knows his mantra? What was his mantra? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's it. He just had first initiation. He's just given that one mantra. So basically, everybody's already been given the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So you may ask, why do you have this ceremony of initiation? Which is a very interesting question. And the answer is, which we spoke about elaborately yesterday, is so that you commit yourself to the chanting, you commit yourself to Krishna. Because without a ceremony, without a vow, and here we're taking vows, for those of you who don't know what a vow is, it's a promise, but a very serious promise. So here we're taking vows, at least the devotees taking initiation, are taking vows in front of the deities, in front of Prabhupada, in front of the spiritual master, in front of all you nice Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis here. So that's very serious. Just like you have witnesses, like if someone gets married, aren't there witnesses in the marriage certificate? You have to sign the witnesses. You can't just go. It's not like the ancient Indian times that you just go to a riverbank and exchange garlands. That's called a Gandharva marriage. It's pretty cheap. Isn't it? Now, how many days do marriages take now? 3, 4, 5 days? Anybody here has been married? No one. No one's married. Can anyone tell me how long your marriage was? 3 days. Even Gopal was 3 days. And I had to tell the jokes for 3 days just to keep it going. It was at the Radha Damodar temple. Yeah, that's very fortunate. I mean, I was really like breathless after 3 days. And so, usually 3 days, and in Fiji we have these like 2-week marriages, 3-week marriages, and people fly in from all over the world. But you have this Gandharva marriage, like Shantanu and Ganga Devi, they didn't do a whole big ceremony. They just exchanged garlands. Pretty good. Saved time. But in those days, people stuck to their promises. You didn't need anything more elaborate, although they did have elaborate. Like if you look at Lord Ram's marriage to Sita, it was quite elaborate. Quite elaborate. But they didn't need it. So why do we need the ceremony, elaborate ceremony, to give an impression in people's minds? It's called sankalpa, actually. Samskara, not a sankalpa. Sankalpa is the intention. Samskara, to give an impression of how serious it is. There is God on the altar. And he is witnessing. And if you break your promise in front of God, for example, traditionally in India, if someone had to bear witness about something, they would do it in front of the deities. Because they knew that if they lied in front of the deities, that's it. right? Just like that story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about two Brahmins, an old Brahmin and a young Brahmin. I'm not going to tell the whole story. And the old Brahmin wanted to give his daughter to the younger Brahmin, and the younger Brahmin didn't think it was going to work out because the older Brahmin's family was going to object to it. So the younger Brahmin made the older Brahmin promise in front of the deity, Gopal. It wasn't called Shakshi Gopal at that time. He had to become a witness to become Shakshi Gopal. So he promised in front of the deities, and as predicted, the older Brahmin and his family objected to the whole thing, was making so many accusations. So in order for the marriage to take place, the younger Brahmin had to convince the witness to walk all the way across, the witness was Krishna, to walk all the way across India. Couldn't even put him on a train. Can you imagine walking all the way across India? All the way, long distance. So, all the way to almost to Jagannath Puri, which is where the Shakshi Gopal temple is, on the road to Jagannath Puri. So it was taken very seriously. So promises or vows are meant to be taken very, very seriously. So Prabhupada instituted this first initiation as the taking the promise to chant a minimum of 16 rounds a day, follow the 4 regulated principles, and of course, in my mind, it means also dedicating your life to the service of Srila Prabhupada and his mission. Those are the promises that one has taken. So one has that impression, the samskara, that this is my life. And I remember that was the intention with which I took first initiation. This is my life. No matter what happens, come hell or high water. And it came quite a few times. I don't need any empathy. So come hell or high water, I'm going to stick to that. Doesn't matter what happens. And of course, Krishna Priya has heard some of these stories before. You've seen some of the stories. So one of the things that happened is that shortly after I took initiation, what happened? Then I was traveling with a sannyasi. And I wasn't a sannyasi then. I was a poor little brahmachari, 20 years old, cute as the devil. So, body changes. So anyway, and this sannyasi, he thought he was the boss, and he made me work all day long and didn't give me any time to chant japa. But I had taken a vow to chant japa. Now this is, obviously there's no other brahmacharis in this room as far as I can see. And I'm the only sannyasi, and I'm kinder and gentler. So, right, Gopal? So, that may not happen to you, but you find yourself in situations where, whether it's a job, or you're going to, the university, or things start falling apart in your life, the stock market crashes, Bitcoin drops down by 35%. It happens. Believe me. Actually, it just did. So you'll find yourself in a situation. So I found myself in a situation, this sannyasi. In those days, people were more fanatic, so I thought I have to listen to this sannyasi. Oh, my God. And so, so what did I do? I have to chant my rounds. So the first day, I just stayed up later while he went to sleep. That didn't work too well because I was so exhausted. The next day, I had to go to sleep every time I stopped at a stoplight driving a car. So that wasn't really a good strategy. So the next day, I came up with a strategy. When I was going to buy things at the supermarket, because we were preparing food for food distribution, I would take an extra 2 hours. And he would say, "What happened?" And I'd say, it's a long line at the supermarket. Not exactly a lie, because long line is relative. What one person considers a long line It's not necessary. You know, it was 2 people. That's a long line. You know? So I, so I, did, I didn't lie. Yeah, I didn't lie. But I got my rounds done every day. So every day, and sometimes there were many trials and tribulations and other things happen in my life. You know, it's been over 50 years. But every day I chanted my rounds no matter what. Some days I was very sick. Like, you know, it's normal. People do get sick. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshana darshanam. And I had to lie in bed and I just chanted Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. And I finished every day because I took it seriously. Krishna in the Gita talks about this. He says, Vyavasayatmaka bodhir ekha kurunandana. Bohushaktas tunantaschat. You know, many people, their intelligence is very, very branched. That's called spaced out, in case you don't know. And so they don't have that determination. But at least the things we've promised to do, that's our life force. So that's why Prabhupada instituted this first initiation. And when one makes the promise to Krishna, it's like a marriage. It's a two-way street. Krishna makes a promise to you. You know, it's not that you have a marriage and only the wife makes the promise. I promise to serve you. And the husband says, whatever. Or IDK. The husband has to make a promise too, doesn't he? He said to protect or whatever, you know, in the traditional marriages. Protect. It's a whole ceremony of promises. That's what a marriage is. A whole ceremony of promises. And the mantras are actually just to facilitate those promises. And that's the samskara you get in a marriage. So it's a two-way street. So in other words, we're making a promise to Krishna and Guru. So Guru is also making a promise. And Krishna is also making a promise. I was just reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita. If you say to Krishna even once, from this day forward I'm yours, then Krishna accepts you as his. That's pretty good. And so the Guru is promising, yes, if you listen to me, then you go back to Godhead. I will promise, and if you have to take birth again, oh my God, so do I. So, so, Janme Prabhu say. That's interesting. So if you understand this word, Janme Prabhu say, for birth after birth, he's my spiritual master. Also, the Guru could say, Janme Shisha. Birth after birth, he's my Shisha. You understand? So, of course, sometimes the Guru can send someone else. There's that story of Bilva Mangal Thakur. He was a great devotee, and he somehow or other fell into bad association, was addicted to illicit life, and the Guru spoke through the girl that he was addicted to. And this girl, you know, she said to him, his girlfriend, she said to him, if you were as enthusiastic, after he had climbed over a wall, grabbed onto snakes, gone through a raging river, held onto a body just to see her. That's love. Wow. I wish I loved Krishna so much, isn't it? So she actually said that. He said, if you had much determination to see Krishna as you had to see me, you be a pure devotee. And he took this to heart. And the Guru spoke through her mouth, used her like a radio receiver. So the Guru can appear in such a fashion like that. So the Guru is making a promise. Krishna is making a promise. I accept you as mine. I'm getting rid of your karma. I'm personally taking charge of your life. Whatever happens, I'm arranging. Of course, you may not like that too much because Krishna says, Yashaham anugranami harisheta dhanamshanai. As Krishna takes away certain things that are impediments. Like what happened with Prabhupada, right? Prabhupada's business went bankrupt. Not to say, don't worry, your business won't go bankrupt. Nobody should worry about this. But still, Krishna just personally takes charge of the person and protects one, gives one protection, carries what one lacks, preserves what one has. Ananyas chintayanto mam yejanak paripasate tesham nityavayuktamam yogakshema mahamayaham. Krishna says this in the Gita. So that's so nice. You're being just like signing up with an insurance company. Just like when I go traveling overseas, I get special insurance, health insurance, and I know I'm protected, maybe. Not really, but there's a false sense of security. But we know that Krishna is everywhere. He's overseas, he's everywhere. Sarvada, yashat sarvatra sarvada. Krishna is everywhere. So it's wonderful. I'm always with Krishna. I'm sitting here talking to you all, and I'm with Krishna. Isn't that nice? I'm not in anxiety because I'm with Krishna, and I'm having fun explaining Krishna consciousness to you all. What a nice life. So, therefore, that's initiation, a promise from Krishna, a promise from yourself. And why 16 rounds? Because if you don't promise, some days you will just chant one round. And why do you have to chant 16 rounds? Because it's the minimum purification. If you could say, well, you say, what about, isn't one round purification? Well, isn't taking a bath one day a week purification too? Isn't it? But at least take one bath a day, you rascal. Right? So Krishna, Prabhupada understood the minimum. I mean, actually, you should be taking 64 baths a day. I know it's rounds. I did that deliberately. 64. Because you bathe in the holy names, the nectar of the holy names. And you really, when I chant 64 rounds in a day, it's completely different. The consciousness is like, wow, that's what Krishna consciousness is all about. But 16 is the minimum, just to keep yourself relatively clean. So you're promising to do that. And you're promising to follow 4 regulative principles. I mean, for those of you from India, it's maybe a little easier. Of course, sometimes in India, the sadhus, they take a lot of ganja, right? I was in one Shiva temple circumambulating, and the sadhu said, Maharaj, here's the Mahaprasadam for you. And I said, Mahaprasadam. It was this thing called hashish. And I'm not going to explain what hashish is. And I said, no, it's a Kadashi. Please forgive me. So, some of you heard that before. So the point is, we make these promises to follow the 4 regulative principles, because the 4 regulative principles give us bad karma, first of all, and bring us down to ignorance. I've had experience in dealing with people who take intoxication, for example, and they're not coherent, and they're thinking that they're saying the most brilliant things in the world simultaneously. It's unbelievable. Actually, nice to have so many people. So, anyway, so no intoxication, no meat, fish, or eggs, no gambling, and no illicit sex. People are promising these things, because in this culture, there's every tendency of people breaking these promises. So we stick to these promises. Okay. And we chant 16 rounds. So that's the first initiation. And we dedicate our life to Srila Prabhupada's mission. I'm dedicated to Srila Prabhupada's mission. Anyone who's taken initiation from me, things equal to the same thing, are equal to each other, is also dedicating themselves, because my life is not different than service to Prabhupada, so they're also dedicating themselves to Prabhupada's mission. At the same time, everyone is using their own talents in Prabhupada's mission. It's not that we try to put a round peg in a square hole, a square peg in a round hole. We follow varnashram very nicely. People are in different ashrams. If someone is a brahmachari, that means they're single, no girlfriends, no bachelor ashram, no bachelors. If someone is married, they're men and women, they stay together, they tolerate. I was talking about this yesterday, that in any sort of relationship we have with people, there's differences of opinion. You just work things out. You're committed to working things out. You say things differently. There was one song many years ago. You say tomato, I say what, tomato. You say potato, I say potato. So, it can drive you crazy if someone keeps saying potato. Would you like a potato subji? So, there's difference of opinion, but you're committed to serving and helping each other in Krishna consciousness. That's the Grihastha ashram. You stay together regardless. There's trials in every relationship. Isn't it? Every relationship. I mean, there's I have so many disciples, and they put me through trials every day. But I don't give them up. No. So anyway, there's Grahastha, Dhvanaprastha, Sannyas. Anyway, Sannyas means single and traveling and preaching like that. And there's Brahmachari, there's Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So everybody should work according to their nature and according to their ashram. Very simple. And that's Krishna consciousness. So that's first initiation. Second initiation is called Brahman initiation. And someone is requested to take a Brahman initiation to develop the qualities of a Brahman. And actually, even those who are first initiation, even those who are not initiated, should try to develop the qualities of a Brahman. Those qualities are samadhammaktapakshocham, being equipoised, austere, clean, tolerant, religious, being able to, honest, being able to study the Vedic literatures, apply the Vedic literatures, and above all, being an example for others. Anybody who joins the Krishna consciousness movement is seen as an example for the whole society. So we should act as perfect ladies and gentlemen. Anybody who's thinking of taking up Krishna consciousness, anyone who is taking up Krishna consciousness, our movement will be judged by our behavior. Because nowadays, if you do anything wrong or seem to have done anything wrong in society, it'll be on the internet in 10 seconds or less. And anybody can Google it. So it's extreme responsibility. Those taking first and especially second initiation, it's extreme responsibility for representing the society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, because our movement is not meant just to bring us to Krishna on an individual basis, but as I said in the beginning of this whole discussion, to actually change society, to purify society in a non-violent way, in a way that purifies the heart. And if we are not respected and people don't take us seriously, people will not take up this process. And if people don't take up this process, society is finished. The way it's going now, being Kali Yuga, there's no hope. And even what I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years in America and also in India, there's really no, and I mean the whole world basically. And I'm not talking about coronavirus, that has nothing to do with this whole thing. I'm talking about people's interactions with each other, politics, wars, prejudices, all these things that are occurring. I'm seeing that things are going down very quickly. And this is the hope of the world. And we don't hope to get everyone just chanting Hare Krishna, but chanting some name of God. Some name of God and dedicating themselves to God, whether it's Krishna, Allah, Jehovah. Somehow or other, our movement is meant to be at the forefront of this. Somehow or other. And in order to be at the forefront, we have to be perfect ladies and gentlemen. Very, very important. Honest, clean, all sorts of good qualities. And of course, we understand that Vaishnava automatically gets these good qualities if someone is a pure devotee. But in the meantime, we have to strive to get these qualities. We have to be introspective. We have to correct ourselves so that we have these good qualities. Control our senses. Okay, and that's initiation. So now we'll give first initiation to the two devotees who are taking first initiation, and one of them have already gotten their beads. I don't have the beads for the other. For Leela Avatar, I don't have her beads. I haven't chanted on them yet. So what do we do about that one? Do we have beads for her to chant on? For me to chant on? I have an extra set in my bead bag. I could. Well, no, it's not my regular set. But directly from my bead bag. Empowered from the bead bag. Yes, these are beads that I chanted on. Okay, but these are really small. They're Tulsi beads. Yeah, they should change the neck beads, put the neck beads on. The two devotees are taking first initiation. And the process is once they put their neck beads on, then one by one, there's only two, one by two. One by one, they'll offer obeisances to the deities, to Srila Prabhupada, to my humble self. Try to be humble. And then take their vows and take initiation. Get their spiritual name. It's not a question, as I mentioned yesterday during our pre-initiation, initiation. It's not a question of joining the club, of getting a name like that. And the name actually indicates that we're servants. But it's a question of making promises and being part of something that is the most important thing in the world, which is Krishna's service and Prabhupada's mission. So, ready? Are we ready or not? What? Okay, so first I guess Shamalini and then Ilavatar can go. Because Shamalini already knows her name, and she has her beads, so. What happened yesterday first we offer obeisances to the deities and Prabhupada and then to myself. And then Leela Avatar should follow her. So what happened yesterday is there was a lot of ice and snow, and she was so anxious to take initiation that she called her good friend, Ujjala Rasagya, said, "You have to bring Gurudev here." And then Ujjala, in the usual peaceful way, contacted me, and said, "You have to come." I said, "Snow out." And it's ice. And then by Krishna's arrangement, because of the will of the Vaishnavas, then Ujjala Rasananda, who's sitting there, he's the Brahmin here, he appeared in a four-wheel drive vehicle. She didn't make the arrangement because his usual car wouldn't work. The wheels kept spinning. So all of a sudden, and not only in a four-wheel drive vehicle, he appeared in a four-wheel drive Tesla. Perfect, isn't it? And I said, all right, it's Krishna's arrangement. So he came over to the house and Chandrasekhar and his good wife, and we did a little ceremony and a little lecture. Actually, it wasn't a little lecture, it was almost an hour. And she got her name. So I don't have beads to give you since I gave you the beads. But because we're doing the promises in front of the deities, actually, like we mentioned yesterday, sometimes when people have been following the regulated principles, we don't ask them about every regulated principles, but no meat, fish, or eggs. And obviously, you've never taken intoxication, never illicit sex, and you don't gamble. So I don't ask you about that. So at least I gave you the answer. So, so you're no meeting 16 rounds every day. Okay, so your name, which you already know, is Shama Kishori. Kama Shama Kishori Devi Dasi. And she already got her beads, so. All right, you can sit down. Congratulations. So the word Shama is pronounced, it's the name of Radharani. If you pronounce it Shama, then it's Krishna. So it's how you stress the A in the word. It's like the word Rama or Rama. Does everybody understand the difference? Rama is Lord Ram. Rama, no, Rama is actually Lakshmi. Lakshmi Devi. Rama Devi. So how you pronounce the word is extremely important in Sanskrit. You can actually say the same word. It can mean a demon or it can mean Krishna. So, now Leela Avatar, who got a nickname before, so now she's going to get her name and gets these beads. These beads are kind of small, but I can chant on other ones later on, but I did chant on these because I have a lot of extra beads that I carry with me. So you can come closer. I haven't bitten anyone yet. I'm a vegetarian. Have been for about 65 years or something like that. So, what are the four regular principles? Okay, and how many rounds every day? And we try to chant more in Ekadasi if you have time. I mean, I always chant more. Well, I can't say always because things happen in my life, but I do chant 16. But I generally chant a lot more than 16 on Ekadasi, whatever's practical. So you get the beads with your right hand. So your name now, right hand, is Rinda Leela Devi Dasi. Instead of instead of Leela Avatar, it's Vrinda Leela. Vrinda, of course, is in charge of all the Leelas in Vrindavan, in Braj. And we got yeah, we got a lot of devotees with the name Leela. So it's a very nice name. Okay, and second initiation, you'll get your mantras after the ceremony in my place. All right, so we're ready to continue? Okay, so now everybody can face the oven, and there'll be the sacrifice. And you can give him a microphone if he wants.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Hare Krishna, everyone. So, we'll start with Brahma Samhita to just purify the environment, and we'll read the first two verses and the last last verse of Brahma Samhita, just for the shortage of time. Ishvaraha Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha लक्षावृतेषु सुरभिरभिपालयन्तम् लक्ष्मीसहस्रशतसम्भ्रमसेव्यमानं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं हं भजामि वेणुं कणन्तमरविन्ददलायताक्षं बर्हावतं समसितं बुधसुन्दराङ्गं कण्ठर्पकोटिकमनीयविशेषशोभं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि श्रियकान्तः कान्तः परमपुरुषः कल्पतरवो ध्रुमभूमिश्चिन्तामणिगणमयितोऽयमृतं कथगानं नाट्यं गमनमपि वंसि प्रिया सखी चिदानन्दं ज्योति परमपि तदा स्वध्यमपि च स यत्र शिरब्धि श्रवति सुरभिभ्यश्च सुमहान् निमेषार्धाख्यो वा व्रजति न हि यत्रापि समया भजे श्वेतद्वीपं तम् अहम् इह गोलोकम् इति यं विदन्तस्ते शन्तशितिविरलचराकटिपये ईश्वरः परमकृष्णः सच्चिदानन्दविग्रहः अनादिरादिर्गोविन्दः सर्वकारणकारणम्. The next step for the first initial candidates. So in the Vedics we have the Gotra, and after taking initiation we change our Gotra to Achyuta Gotra, which is Krishna's Gotra. So the first initial candidates can repeat after me. Om Achyutya Gotraya Swaha. Om Achyuta Gotro Hamasmi. So basically, by saying this mantra, you say that I am now a member and I'm recognizing myself as a member of the Achyuta Gotra, and I am leaving behind the Gotra that I was born with. Harihi Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahavirya Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Punantu Mam Devagna Punantu Manasadiya Punantu Vishwabhutani Jata Veda Punihimam. Om Asya Karmana Punyaham Bhavantu Bhuvantu. Om Punyaham Om Punyaham Om Punyaham. Om Udgadeva Shagane Samagayasi Brahmaputra Vasavineshu Samsasi Vrisheva Vasi Shishumati Pritya Sarvatona Shakune Bhadramabada Vishwatona Shakune Punyamabada. Om Asya Karmana Swasti Bhavantu Bhruvantu Ayushmate Swasti. Om Swasti Om Swasti Om Swasti. Om Swasti no Indro Vridrashavaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti no Nastarksho Arishtanemi Swasti no Brihaspati Dadatu. Om Anena Swastikena Shubhadishostu. Om Asya Karmana Riddhim Bhavantu Bhruvantu. Om Ridhyatam Om Ridhyatam Om Ridhyatam. Om Ridhyamastomam Shanayama Vajam Anumantram Saratero Payatam Yashona Pakvam Madhu Goshvantar Abhutam Sho Ashwino Kamapraha. Om Swastino Govinda Swastino Chitananto Swastino Vasudevo Vishnu Tadatu Swastino Narayana Narovai Swastino Padmanabha Purushottamo Tadatu Swastino Vishwaksheno Vishweshwaraha Swastino Rishikesho Hari Tadatu Swastino Vainityo Harihi Swastino Anjanasuto Hanur Bhagavato Tadatu Swasti Swasti Sumangala Kesho Mahan Shri Krishna Sachidanandagana Sarveshwareshwaro Tadatu. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padakam Sada Pashyanti Surya Divya Chakshuratam Tad Viprasuvipanyo Jagravam Sasamandite Vishnu Yat Paramam Padam. So now we'll do the Sankalpa. That basically what the ceremony we're doing is only for Krishna and only for his pleasure. So I'll give you some rice. Take it in your right hand. In the parchment cup, take 3 drops of water and put it in your right hand. What you can do is just put your right hand on top of left and put it on your right knee, on top of your right knee. Om Vishnu Om Tat Sat Govinda 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 Adya Brahmana Dutya Parardhe Shvetavaraha Kalpe Vaishvatakya Manvantare Ashtavimshati Kalyugasya Prathama Sandhyayam Brahma Vimshita Vartamanyam Panchashottara Panchatrimshat Gaurabda Samvatsare Uttarayane Hemantrito Madhavamashi Krishna Pakshe Makararasti Sthita Bhaskare Shashtitito Ravivar Varanavitayam हस्त नक्षत्र संयुतायं भूमंडले जम्बुद्वीपे भरतवर्षे भरतखंडे मेधि भूतस्य सुमेरु दक्षिणे लवण्यार्षोत्तरे कोणे गंगाया पश्चिमे भागे अच्युत गोत्र. Say your name. Ujjvala Rasananda Dasah. Say your initiated names. Shri Krishna Pritatam Upananam Samskaram Karaham Karishye. And then let it just flow out of your hand. Om Narasta Parvashu.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
Om Kavadavne Prahonam Duram Yamarajam Gachatu Riprava. Om Bhurbhava Swaha. Om.
Krishna, Krishna
Om Samudbhava Nama Gacha Agnetam Samudbhava Nama Si Shri Vishnu Steja Evayam Hari Om Agnimide Purohitam Yagnasya Devaritujam Hotaram Ratnadhatamam Hari Om Om Isheto Jeto Vayavastha Payavastha Devavasthavita Praptaito Shreshta Tomaya Karmane Hari Om Nagnaya Vitaye Grihano Vyadataye Nihota Shashi Bharisi Hari Om Shanno Devira Vishtaya Pavantu Pitaye Samyur Bhavishantu Na Hari Om Krishnanta Mukunda Madhava Hare Govinda Vamshi Mukha Shri Gopi Jana Vallava Vaja Suhrit Bhakta Priyodachyuta Bhakta Premasya Kriya Phala Rasa Naika Dinartrit Radha Kanta Durata Shamsita Haritage Jiva Sada Om Vishnu Tat Paramam Padam Sada Pashanti Surya Tad Vipraso Vigragram Shasamandade Vishnu Yat Paramam Padam Om Agnim Dutam Purandade Havetam Uprave Devagnamadeha Om Evaya Mitoro Jataveda Devyo Hevam Vihato Pragnanam Om Idam Vishnu Vichakrame Treda Nidati Padam Samuda Asya Pagam Shre Om Idam Bhume Bhajamahe Idam Bhadram Sumangalam Para Saptanam Bhadaswa Anshasham Vandadadanam Om Esho He Deva Pradesho Na Sarva Purva Na Jata Usagavanta Sa Eva Jata Janishmana Pratya Janastishati Sarvato Mukha Om Eta Mahaprasade Nevyadadi Purva Shamshi Naradaya Swaha Agnyam Shri Kapila Devaya Swaha Yamye Shri Rama Bhagavataya Swaha Naitam Shri Bhishma Devaya Swaha Praticham Shri Sukadevaya Swaha Vayavam Shri Janakaya Swaha Udicham Shri Sadashivaya Swaha Aishanyam Shri Prahladaya Swaha Urdhvam Shri Brahmane Swaha Adha Shri Baliradaya Swaha Om Swastino Govinda Swastino Charanta Swastino Vasudevo Vishnu Tadatu Swastino Narayana Narobai Swastino Padmanabha Purushottamo Tadatu Swastino Vishwaksheno Vishweshwaraha Swastino Rishikesho Hari Tadatu Swastino Vainetyo Hari Swastino Anjanasuto Hanu Bhagavato Tadatu Swasti Swasti Sumangalai Kesho Mahan Shri Krishna Sachiranda Gana Sarveshwara Tadatu Om Pavitrosto Vaishavyo Om Vishwa Manasa Putesta Om Devo Vasavito Achidena Pavitrena Vaso Surya Sarashmi Viswaha Om अनंत अनुमस्य वा ओम अच्युत अनुमन्यस्य वा ओम सरस्वती अनुमस्य वा ओम प्रभो अनिरुद्ध प्रशुभ यज्ञ पाठि भागय पाठ सर्वभूतस्थ केतुपकेतं न पुनन्तु वागीशो वाचं न सधातु स्वाहा Homa, and so don't offer yet, and I'll let you know when to offer. Om Bhuvaswaidam Vishnavedam Namama Om Bhuvaswaidam Achyutaidam Namama Om Swaswaidam Naranaidam Namama Om Bhurvaswaidam Anantaidam Namama. So now we'll be doing the Purusha Shukta Homa, which is basically we'll be glorifying Shri Krishna as the Yagya Purush into the fire. We have invited a type of Agni called Samudbhava, which is used for Diksha, which is Upanayana, or what we're doing today. So we'll be worshipping him with this. So we can take the grains that we have, like the rice and the mix. Don't offer too much, and use your middle finger and your ring finger to offer. And the ladies will put like this, and the men will put like this. So Prabhu, you put like this, and Mataji, you can put like this. Harihi Om Sahasrashirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva Attatishthadashangulam Swaha Purushaye Vedagam Sarvam Yadbhuta Yachabhavyam Utamritatvasheshanah Yadanne Natirohati Swaha एतावानस्य महिमा अतो ज्यायागश्च पुरुषः पादोऽस्य विश्वभूतानि त्रिपादस्यामृतं दिवि स्वाहा त्रिपाद ऊर्ध्व उदयित पुरुषः पादोऽस्येहा भवात् पुनः ततो विश्वं व्यक्रामत सशनानशने अभि स्वाहा तस्माद् विराड जायत विराजो अधिपुरुषः स जातो अत्तिरिष्यत पश्चात् भूमिमतो पुरः स्वाहा यत्पुरुषेण हविषा देवा यज्ञमतन्वत वसन्तो अस्यासीडाज्यं ग्रीष्म इद्मशरद्धविः स्वाहा सप्तास्यान् सन्परिधयः त्रिसप्तासमिदा कृताः देवा यज्ञतन्वानाः अभद्नन् पुरुषं पशुं स्वाहा ते यज्ञबर्हिषि प्रोक्षन्ने पुरुषं जातमग्रताः तेन देवा याजन्त साध्या ऋचयश्च ये स्वाहा तस्माद् यज्ञात् सर्वहुतः संवृतं पृषडाज्यं पाशुक्ताक्षाक्रे वायव्याने आरण्याग्राम्यश्च ये स्वाहा तस्माद् यज्ञात् सर्वहुतः ऋचसमानि जग्निरे छन्दागंसि जग्निरे तस्मात् यजुस्तस्मादजायत स्वाहा तस्मादश्वजायन्त ये केच्छोभयादतः गावोह जग्निरे तस्मात् तस्मज्जातजावयः स्वाहा यत्पुरुषं व्याददुः कठिदव्याकल्पयन् मुखं किमस्य काबहुः कावूरुपादावुच्येत स्वाहा ब्राह्मणोऽस्य मुखमासीद् बाहुराजन्यकृताः ऊरु तदस्य तद्वैश्यः पद्यागं शूद्रो जायत स्वाहा चन्द्रममनसो जात चक्षुशूरो जायत मुखदिन्द्रश्चाग्निश्च प्राणाद्वायुर्जायतः स्वाहा नाभ्याशिदन्तरिक्षं शीर्ष्णोऽध्यौ समवर्तत पद्भ्यां भूमिर्दिशा स्तोत्रात् तथा लोकगं कल्पयन् स्वाहा वेदाहमेतं पुरुषं महान्तं आदित्यवर्णं तमसस्तु पारे सर्वाणि रूपाणि विचित्रधीरः नामानि कृत्वा भिवदानि यदस्ते स्वाहा दाता पुरस्तद्यमुदा जहार शक्रप्रवृद्धान् प्रदिताश्च शस्तर तमेव विद्वान् अमृतः भवति नान्यपन्थानाय विद्यते स्वाहा यज्ञेन यज्ञमजायन्त देवाः तानि धर्माणि प्रथमानि शाने ताहिनाकं महिमानः सचन्ते यत्र पूर्वे साध्या सन्ति देवाः स्वाहा इदं कृष्णाय इदं न मम so don't offer ॐ भुवः स्वाहा इदं विष्णवेदं न मम ॐ भुवः स्वाहा इदं अच्युताय इदं न मम ॐ स्वस्वाहा इदं नारायणाय इदं न मम ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वस्वाहा इदं अनन्ताय इदं न मम ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः स्वाहा so we can offer श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् स्वाहा वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च स्वाहा नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते बीर कृष्णदास गोस्वामी इति नामिने नमो हंसा निकाशाय प्रभुपादा प्रियायते सुधृदा शुद्धिनिष्ठाभ्यं तस्य वख्यानुवादिने स्वाहा नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे स्वाहा नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिसिद्धान्त सरस्वतीति नामिने श्रीवर्षभानवि देवी दैताय कृपाब्धये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः माधुर्योज्वल प्रेमाध्य श्री रूपानुगा भक्तिदा श्री गौरा करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगा विरुद्धापा सिद्धांत ध्वंतहारिणे स्वाहा नमो गौरा किशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बरसाम्बोधे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः स्वाहा नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगावरायते स्वाहा गौरविर्भावभूमिस्त्वं निर्दिष्ट सज्जनप्रिया वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः स्वाहा वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः स्वाहा नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतुषे नमः स्वाहा पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं स्वाहा हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते स्वाहा जयतां सुरतो पंगोर मम मंदमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्य पदाम्भोजौ राधा मदन मोहनो स्वाहा दिव्याद्वृन्दारण्य कल्पद्रुमादः श्रीमद्रत्नागारा सिंहासनस्थो श्रीमद्राधा शीलगोविन्ददेवो पृष्ठालिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि स्वाहा श्रीमन्रासरसारम्भी वंशीवट ततस्थिता कर्षन् वेणुर्स्वनैर्गोपीर् गोपीनाथ श्रियेस्तु नः स्वाहा तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये स्वाहा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा स्वाहा। ओम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे स्वाहा। ओम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे स्वाहा। ओम हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे स्वाहा स्वाहा स्वाहा। वैष्णवनामाग्नेह गच्छ नेत्वं वैष्णवनामासि श्रीविष्णुस्तेज एवयम्। स्वाहायदं विष्णुदं नमः ओम भुवस्वाहायदं अनन्तायदं नमः ओम स्वस्वाहायदं विष्णुदं नमः ओम भूर्भुवस्वाहायदं अनन्तायदं नमः। हरे कृष्ण पाहिनोच्युत एनासे स्वाहा इदं विष्णवेदं नमः ओम पाहिनो विश्ववेदसे स्वाहा इदं विष्णवेदं नमः ओम यज्ञं पाहि हरे विभो स्वाहा इदं विष्णवेदं नमः ओम सर्वं पाहि श्रियपते स्वाहा इदं विष्णवेदं नमः ओम पाहिनोऽन्त एकाय पायुत द्वितीयाय पायुर्जं तृतीयाय पाहि गिर्भिश्चतुर्भिषि विष्णु स्वाहा इदं विष्णवेदं नमः ओम पुनर्ऊर्जा निवर्तस्व पुनर्विष्णुषायुषा पुनर्नापाह्याघंश स्वाहा इदं विष्णुदं नमः ओम सहराय निवर्तस्व विष्णुपिंबसधारय विश्वस्पस्न्य विश्वस्पारि स्वाहा इदं विष्णुविदं नमः ओम अग्नतं यज्ञग्नतं यज्ञस्य क्रियते मिथु विष्णुतस्य कल्पयत्वागमि वेत यथा तथं स्वाहा इदं विष्णुदं नमः ओम प्रजापते विष्णुना त्वदेतन्यो विश्वजातानि परितद्भुवः यत्कामस्ते जुहोमस्तत्नस्तु वायं श्याम पता पातयोरैनं स्वाहा इदं विष्णुदं नमः। So don't talk for this time. ओम भुव स्वाहा इदं विष्णुविदं नमः ओम भुव स्वाहा इदं अच्युतायदं नमः ओम स्वस्वाहा इदं नारायणायदं नमः ओम भूर्भुवः स्वस्वाहा इदं अनन्तायदं नमः। we can offer now. Om Shri Shri Radha Golokanandaya Swaha. Om Vishwakshenaya Swaha. Om Sanaka Sanatana Sanandana Sanat Kumarebhya Swaha. Om Kavaye Swaha. Om Havaye Swaha. Om Antarikshaya Swaha. Om Prabudhaya Swaha. Om Pipalaya Navaya Swaha. Om Avirhotraya Swaha. Om Dhrumilaya Swaha. Om Chamasaya Swaha. Om Karabhajanaya Swaha. Om Naradaya Swaha. Om Kapilaya Swaha. Om Yama Bhagavataya Swaha. Om Bhishma Devaya Swaha. Om Sukadevaya Swaha. Om Janakaya Swaha. Om Sadashivaya Swaha. Om Prahaladaya Swaha. Om Brahmane Swaha. Om Balirajaya Swaha. Om Swayambhuvaya Swaha. Om Garudaya Swaha. Om Hanumate Swaha. Om Ambarishaya Swaha. Om Vyasadevaya Swaha. Om Uddhavaya Swaha. Om Yudhishthiraya Swaha. Om Bhimaya Swaha. Om Arjunaya Swaha. Om Nakulaya Swaha. Om Sahadevaya Swaha. Om Viduraya Swaha. Om Vishnurataya Swaha. Om Vibhishanaya Swaha. Om Shri Krishna Chaitanyaya Swaha. Om Shri Nityanandaya Swaha. Om Shri Advaitaya Swaha. Om Pandita Gadadharabhyaya Swaha. Om Shivasadibhyaya Swaha. Om Shri Rupaya Swaha. Om Shri Sanataya Swaha. Om Bhatta Raghunathaya Swaha. Om Shri Jivaya Swaha. Om Gopala Bhattaya Swaha. Om Dasa Raghunathaya Swaha. Om Krishna Dasa Kavaye Swaha. Om Narottamaya Swaha. Om Vishwanathaya Swaha. Om Baladeva Jagannathaya Bhyam Swaha. Om Sachinandana Bhakti Vinodaya Swaha. Om Babaji Srila Gaura Kishoraya Swaha. Om Srimate Saraswati Bhakti Siddhantaya Swaha. Om Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupaya Swaha. Om Diksha Guruve Srimate Bir Krishna Goswami Swaha. Don't offer. Om Bhaswadam Vishnavidam Nama. Om Bhaswadam Achutayadam Nama. Om Swaswadam Naranayadam Nama. Om Bhurvaswaswadam Anantayadam Nama. Homam yashase Vishnave Jahomi Yasmai Vishnave Jahoti Savaramashme Dadati Vishnu Varnam Vrine Yashasa Bhami Loke Swaha. Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Swaha. Also the banana on this side, not exactly. Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So all the initiates, you can circumambulate the fire. Everyone can circumambulate the fire. शांति अंतरिक्षम शांति पृथ्वी शांति आप शांति वायु शांति तेज शांति औषध शांति लोक शांति ब्राह्मण शांति शांति वैश्व शांति शांति मंत्रहीनम क्रियाहीनम भक्तिहीनम जनार्दन यत् पूजितं मया देव परिपूर्णमतस्तु मे।
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare.